to go, and it's up to you. You can just go stand in the audience, and then when.
All right, I'm going to ask you guys to move any other conversation to chat because we are going to tee it up and start going. We're already late. All right, Tom, let me know when you're streaming. We are streaming. Excellent. So, sorry for the delay there, and welcome everybody to The Next Evolution. Tonight we're here to talk about the next evolution of the collaborative workplace, which we just got a lovely example of as we are collaboratively helping somebody solve AV issues in the virtual space. This is our panel for the evening. My name is Matt Wren. I am the founder of VR Chicago and The Next Evolution. My passions and expertise span a lot of emerging technologies, so if you'd like to know more about that, come up and say hello to me because I don't like talking about myself. With that said, The Next Evolution AWE Nite Chicago event series is now, always has been, and always will be 100% free to attend. That said, it is not free to produce. So we have this lovely donation link for anybody who wants to support it. I'm going to leave it up here for about 1 second and then move on to the next slide. This will be up again towards the end of the program. The Next Evolution is also AWE Nite Chicago. There are more than 30 AWE Nites all over the world. You can use the code 25AWE Nite 10D to receive a 10% off a 2 or 3 day pass for the United XR Europe. There are 3 major AWE events that take place throughout the year. United XR Europe will be in December in Brussels, AWE Asia, February in Singapore, and AWE USA will be back here in June in Long Beach. You can also attend live online courses at AWE Academy or check out awexr.com for more information. With that, we also are beyond grateful for UL Solutions sponsorship of the 2025 event series. And we also, where's Scott? Hey, Scott. We also want to thank our venue sponsor, who's coming up here right now. And he's going to introduce 2112, which is the space that we are in physically. And then we'll talk a little bit more about our virtual space. But I'm just stalling until Scott gets up here and grabs a microphone. Apparently he's going to grab my microphone. Oh, that works.
All right, well, yeah, always happy to host. So Scott Fetters, founder director of 2112 and Center for Creative Entrepreneurship. We spent the last 10 years building community and supporting growth of Chicago's creative economy and looking to expand that model into new markets now. But we have in the physical space here over 100 companies in music, film, fashion, sports, design, brands. And that's surrounded by Fort Knox Studios, over 200 suites of recording, rehearsal, production. We have a ton of events, both in the space and virtually. Everything can be found at 2112inc.com and cceglobal.org. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Scott. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Caroline, our virtual host.
Hey, everybody in Chicago, welcome. Thank you for having me. My name is Caroline Dennis, and I'm with 2 Degrees, and I'm excited to be here tonight with Sean and Natasha. So a little bit about me. I work at the intersection of Web3 and immersive technology, and my passion for digital preserving technologies and data sovereignty and social well-being. I kind of work at the intersection of all of those, and it helps drive my work in global communities celebrating the power and fusion of people, tech, science, and the planet. In addition to VRAR Chicago, I'm part of a global incubator for building inclusive, sustainable, smart cities through an IEEE standard. And I would like to just also introduce one of our partners, XR Women, which is also a great community and been part of that for a while. XR Women is a community of over 1,200 women from over 60 countries, and we're dedicated to advancing innovation and leadership and collaboration in immersive technologies. And since its founding, it's over in 2020, I think we're now at about 250 women have taken the stage, building their insights and expertise. So we meet every Wednesday on several platforms and in frame, so join us if you're interested. So just a little second about this platform. This is Frame, and we we are able to come through this using our web browser or our laptop or via our headset. And you'll notice that there are some abilities here that we have to have this video, audio, and avatar mix, and it's a great platform. So we're excited to be here. Thanks again, Matt. Back to you.
Thank you, Caroline. Sorry about that. I almost missed the slide for frame there. With that said, we also have a lot of great community partners supporting these events: 1871, 2 Degrees, Envision, and Patched Reality. And we definitely want to thank our beverage sponsors who are providing our beverages for the physical space. So Revolution Brewing and System Seltzers. We do want to make note, System Seltzer has 3 levels, 0%, 5%, and 8% alcohol, so make sure you check which can you're grabbing. But with that said, let's actually talk about the topic and why we're here tonight. So the digital workplace is rapidly evolving with immersive technologies such as virtual, augmented, and mixed reality, fundamentally transforming how teams connect, collaborate, and create across geographical boundaries. These platforms are moving beyond traditional video calls to create shared, tangible environments where distance dissolves. Architects can lead clients through 3D building models, engineers can refine complex prototypes side by side, and medical professionals can jointly plan procedures as if they were in the same room. The shift towards spatial computing enhances both the sense of presence and engagement, enabling team members to manipulate virtual objects and co-create solutions with an unprecedented level of real-time interaction. Even leveraging technologies like holoportation to foster stronger bonds in hybrid and globalized workforces. This program brings together a group of experts who are at the forefront of this digital transformation, showcasing the integration of XR with cutting-edge fields from scientific discovery to architectural acoustics. And with that said, I'm going to introduce our first presenter for the evening, who is Victor, how do you say your last name, Victor? Matavizzi. Victor Matavizzi is a computer scientist at Argonne National Laboratory and an adjunct research professor at the University of Illinois Chicago, where he develops large-scale visualizations and XR workflows for some of the world's most powerful supercomputers. His work helps scientists explore complex data in real time, bridging the gap between computation and discovery.
Thank you for the introduction and inviting me. I'm excited to talk about the things that I do. So yeah, my name is Victor. I'm a computer scientist at the Argonne National Laboratory and also a research professor at UIC. Next slide, please. So broadly speaking, my research interests are computer graphics, scientific visualizations, extended reality, and digital twins. And more specifically, what I do at Argonne, I work in the supercomputing division. It's called Argonne Leadership Computing Facility. And what we do is we build supercomputers. In fact, we have Aurora, which we released in January to the public. Aurora runs at 1.012 exaflops. So that's, you have giga, you have tera, you have peta, you have exa. So it's about 1 billion times faster, 1 billion times faster than your average computer. It has about 10,000 nodes, and each node has 6 GPUs, so we're talking about over 64,000 GPUs. And what we do is that scientists, they come in, they use the supercomputer, and they run simulations. We, as a visualization team, we help them visualize their data. Next slide, please. For those who don't know Argonne, we are part of the National Lab System. We are federally funded. There are 17 national labs. Argonne is known for building the first, being able to sustain for the first time controlled nuclear reaction with Enrico Fermi. That happened at Argonne. That's how Argonne got started. And then they kind of moved and they did the Manhattan Project in Los Alamos. But today we don't do just nuclear. Actually, nuclear, we don't do a lot of nuclear anymore. We have supercomputers. We have a particle accelerator. And we do basic research on basic fields like physics and computing. Next slide, please. So like I said, we have the scientists, they run these big simulations, and then we are the experts that will visualize their data. A lot of times that might mean static images or videos where they have a specific data set, they have a paper they want to present, or they're going to a conference, or maybe they want to talk to their stakeholders about the research that they're doing. So those are some of the images that I've created in the past, and I'm trying to use materials and lights and making things look more natural and using kind of like cinematic ways of rendering data. Next slide, please. That's kind of like the production side of things, but I also do R&D. For the R&D, I'm going to talk about two projects. One is the digital twins for manufacturing. The idea behind this is that, more specifically, the project is for isotope production. So the idea behind this is that if you are dealing with isotopes, traditionally there is a hot box and there are gloves and you have to put your hands in and you need to manipulate the radioactive material, and this has not been updated for, from the beginning, basically, for 70 years. So how can we bring that to the 21st century? So we're building a hot box, we're building robots that will do that manipulation. Our part of the project is building the digital twin. So the digital twin is connected to the supercomputer. You go in the digital twin in VR, you perform the experiment, and while you're performing the experiment, the supercomputer basically analyzes the data and performs a simulation. So if you're pouring liquid through a filter, that's a simulation that's going to run on the supercomputer. You're going to see the result in your VR headset and the digital twin, and the result of the robot you're moving around. And then you kind of teach the computer how to do that, and then you can run that autonomously once he learns how to do that. Okay, next slide. Second project is about building an AI scientific assistant, more specifically for data analysis and visualization. In this case, you can, again, have the scientists that run these big simulations. How do they analyze the data with the AI scientific assistant that we're building? So you go in VR and you just talk to it using LLM, and you ask questions, and it's going to help you build graphs, build visualizations, and maybe even come up with new hypotheses. But the idea is, natural language, VR, and doing science. So those are kind of like the two newest things that I'm looking into. That's it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Victor. Hang on. Don't go nowhere yet. A couple questions for you.
Okay.
So first of all, you mentioned that at Argonne you're using immersive tools for some of the, working with a lot of the world's most powerful computers, and that you're using this to help visualize the data. Can you provide sort of an example where the visualization is actually helping a scientist solve it? Like, what is the visualization, from the perspective of a scientist, what does the visualization do for them? Like, why is this helpful? Essentially,
Yeah.
How does it work? What is it doing?
Yeah, so there are multiple aspects of that question. The first thing that I'm going to give some examples. The first way that visualization can help them is debugging. So let's say you're running your visualization and you're looking at the numbers and they're just not right. Like, why are they not right? You don't know. And these are like, we're talking about, visualization, a simulation. The output might be 5 petabytes of data. So that's not something that you can just copy in your computer and open in Excel or any kind of application and analyze. So you need to, the data needs to stay local, and you have to analyze it / visualize it on the supercomputer. That's the only way. So in one case, there was a rotor, underwater rotor that was spinning, and the numbers were off. And by visualizing it, what we did see is that as it was spinning, there was a bug in the code, so it basically started flying. So that would be one example of how the scientists would never figure that one out without actually visualizing the data. Another example visualization in general that we do is very, very big data. We have scientists that are looking at cosmology, what happened after the Big Bang, and they're simulating basically the entire universe. The entire universe has billions and billions of galaxies. So you have to visualize that data. And even when you visualize it, it's so big that you cannot actually see it because you're looking at it and it's just like lots of pixels, and then you have to zoom in. Yeah, so I think those are two examples. And then the third one, I guess, would be, having discussions with the scientists and figuring out what the story is, like what they want to say. Who is the audience? Because if they're going to a conference, they're going to be domain scientists, and they're going to know exactly what they're looking for. So then it's easy. We kind of know that okay, this is how they're used to seeing things. But then if you go to the public, like this meeting, for instance, and I want to talk about my science, in that case, the way you're going to visualize data is going to be completely different because you also have to explain, you have to give context about what the science is about.
Excellent. All right, next question. Because obviously when we often talk about the collaborative workspace, we're usually talking about people collaborating with people. But one of the things that you work on and that you brought up is the ability for people to collaborate with, let's say, robots or AI. So how do you see that transitioning, I guess, out of, well, two things. Number one, talk a little bit about that collaboration and like that level of collaboration where you're using immersive technology to collaborate with a remote robot that's doing lab work that would be dangerous for a human to be in that physical environment, and also to collaborate with AI that is essentially analyzing this data for you and helping you. And second of all, where do you see this going? Where do you see that type of technology going beyond the lab?
Yeah, that's a good question. Okay, so let's start with the robots. So for the digital twin project, like you said, you have to collaborate with these robots. You also have to collaborate with, the robots that they don't have AI anymore. So you have to collaborate with the robots and with the digital twin. So what you're doing is basically you are operating the robotic arm, and then it's connected to the simulation. And then as you're doing things, it's going to simulate the results. So there is an HCI aspect. How do I manipulate the robot? Do I grab it and manually move it to the location that it needs to go? Do I have some kind of remote control? Do I grab the joints and move them? So that collaboration, interaction between you and the robot, it's basically, it's research. Like, we don't know yet what the best solution is, because what we have observed, and we know that when you do teleoperation and you remotely control those robots without using digital twins, like standard, video feed, fatigue, people get fatigued. And first of all, it's very difficult. You have to be trained. And secondly, they get fatigued. That's something that they cannot do for like 8 hours.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I realized we didn't show your videos. So I'm actually, while you're explaining this, I'm going to play your video.
Oh, yeah, we have the videos, you're right. So in this example, we're exploring hand gestures and basically grabbing a target. We have like a box. So when you move it and you put it on the floor, that's where the robot's gonna move it. It's gonna use inverse kinematics, so it's gonna figure out how to get that point. So that's one way of interacting with the robot. Instead of moving the joints, you're basically saying, this is where I want you to go, and using inverse kinematics. Inverse kinematics is for a robot cannot move in all directions, and even if it can, there are limitations, because you don't want the joints to hit each other. So inverse kinematics figure out how can I get from point A to point B.
Do you want to show the other video?
Yeah, let's show the other video.
As you can see here, I'm using virtual reality to control.
This is, well, both, by the way, I need to say that, we work a lot with interns because also of my UIC hat. So both projects have been worked by our students. And in this case, the student, they are teleoperating the robot. But what's different is that they don't see the robot through a camera. That's traditionally, you teleoperate the robot, you can actually see a camera feed. As you can see at the bottom, they see a digital twin of the robot in VR. So that corresponds one-to-one with what the robot is doing. That's an industrial robot, by the way. It's like $40,000. Like, this is what they use in the industry.
Okay.
And then we have the collaboration aspect for the AI scientists. And for the AI scientists, we are working, and we have a prototype where you can have multiple scientists in the same VR environment, looking at this data at the same time, collaborating, making questions, interacting with the LLM. So I think, again, I think that's going to be the future, where, because especially science today, the scientists are located across the globe. And even in the US, we have collaborators. They are at other universities, other research labs, and we collaborate with them over Zoom. But it would be nice if I can jump in a session and I can load my protein, I can look at it, other people can join me, and then we can have a discussion and then interact with the LLM and the assistant, and it's going to help us solve difficult problems.
Excellent. Thank you very much. We'll have we'll let you go now.
Okay.
Thank you, Victor.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
What we can do now is I'm going to hand it over to Caroline to introduce Sean Mann.
Sounds good. Real great. Thank you so much, Victor. I have so many questions I want to ask later. Well, I'd like to introduce Sean Mann. Sean Mann is the CEO of RP1 and a visionary leader with 25 years of entrepreneurial and technology expertise, recently recognized as the Innovator of the Year at the WebXR Awards. Congratulations. And ranked among the top 20 metaverse industry founders by Metaverse Insider. With a background in spanning medical, consumer electronics, software, fitness, and wellness, Sean now drives RP1's strategic direction while contributing to global standards bodies shaping the future of the metaverse. So welcome, Sean. So happy for you to be here. And why don't you take it away, and then we'll ask some questions. Oh, and if you can put your megaphone on, Sean, because that's easier for people to hear. Thanks.
Already on. Hopefully, can you hear me okay? Can you guys hear me okay? Okay,
Yes.
perfect.
Yes, we hear you,
Well, thank you.
and make sure your microphone's on. You're on megaphone, and we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Yep, they're all on. First of all, thank you so much for that kind introduction. I got to bring you all over everywhere I go to do that. It was awesome. And I want to thank Tom and Matt for putting together this event. I think it's amazing. You guys are ambassadors of the industry and really help bring us together in these thought-provoking discussions. So I appreciate that. Where do I stand? I think we're on the next steps of moving from web infrastructure to spatial infrastructure. And that sounds like some fancy terms. And I know there's a lot of different audience members that have really high-level technical understanding of the XR industry and some newer people. So I'm going to try to kind of go right in the middle. And really, when I say moving from web infrastructure to spatial, I mean every single company that we know, everything from Walmarts and Home Depots to hospitals to hotels and airports are eventually going to move from web infrastructure to spatial infrastructure. And that spatial infrastructure is going to allow them to run their businesses. So instead of me having to look at a flat panel, I'm going to spatially see where shipments are coming in, where pallets need to go, where those products need to go on planogram sets. Nurses and doctors will be able to look at human beings and instantly know who they are, what they're working on. Maybe when they go to hand them a medication, AI will help make sure that you're doing the right thing and not making mistakes in the field. You're gonna be able to check into hotels. You're gonna be able to go to an airport, and they're gonna help you find your baggage drop-offs all the way to your gates. And these are all going to be things that we interact with on a day-to-day basis. In fact, I believe that eventually AR glasses will replace mobile devices. And so that we will literally be able to wear AR glasses, walk around the real world. People will be able to call you and show you up right in front of your glasses, and you'll be able to instantly connect to software all over the world, whether that's AI helping you navigate or doing work-related things. And the big question is do we want to create an open or a closed ecosystem for that all to work? I was recently at the Augmented Enterprise Summit, and we met with a lot of Fortune 500 companies, and they said that it's a non-starter for them to build their entire spatial infrastructure inside a wall garden system. And what I mean by that, if we actually look at history of the internet, and you go back to when it was developed, you had walled companies like AOL and CompuServe and Prodigy, and these were basically your view into the internet. And in fact, most people thought AOL was the internet. And you were stuck in their walled system and what they allowed you to do within their portal, if you will. And at some point, someone created the browser, which is one, I believe, the greatest software invention known to man. And that browser enabled everyone to build their own web content and be discoverable by anyone in the world with zero friction, where I just open up a browser and I can instantly fetch information from a web server that is owned by those individuals or companies. Well, I bring that up because we're repeating history. Right now, we are, a lot of wall garden platforms exist that are like in Meta or Apple or all these different areas where you have to build inside of their ecosystem and they fully control your infrastructure, your assets, and allow you and not allow you to do certain things. And I believe it is an important step in the industry that we create the first XR browser, the first 3D spatial metaverse browser. And the importance of this, it really creates interoperable experiences that make it seamless for every single individual, business, or employee to connect to spatial content, no matter where you're at in the real world or virtually. And we are the first company in the world to create the first prototype metaverse browser that is showcasing 3 necessary technologies to make this all possible. And so if you look at the chart that we have up there, you can see that currently devices connect to web browsers that connect you to the World Wide Web. And the World Wide Web is all the 2D content that sits on top of the internet. And so the browser lets you find that content no matter where it exists. And we believe the metaverse is the parallel of the World Wide Web. And so you look at this chart, you have devices that connect to a metaverse browser. So you have AR glasses, mobile, desktop, and VR headsets, and that connects you to 3D content that exists on top of the spatial internet. But the missing piece here is that you need the ability to find the content. And if you think of the current web browser, we have address systems like .com and .nets that enable us to all have our own web infrastructure and be found by common browsers and other devices. And we need something that is, bless you, by the way. By the way, I'm in Los Angeles and I get to see you sneeze. This is amazing. So the premise of the metaverse is that you have the ability to create 3D content that seamlessly can be found by any device. But what's missing in the web construct is a couple of things. One is the current web stack is not designed to be proximity based. And so what I mean by that is if I'm wearing AR glasses, how do I know where I'm standing in the real world and feed me information? So as I walk near a Walmart, how do I connect to Walmart's AI or services that they build or have third parties build for them and instantly be able to interact with it without me having to download and install something? And the answer is that you need a universal map system. And we've created the first universal map system that is the size of our entire solar system, 1-to-1 scale. And that's important so that every single person that owns the land in the real world will automatically have access to this universal map system. So whether it's your house, your business, you can instantly start building your own metaverse server, just like you build a web server, connected to that location. And then when people go there remotely through VR or in the real world with AR glasses, they will connect to your information that you own, that you run, and you keep all of your revenue and your data, and no company can tell you what you can or cannot do at that location, just like how the web works. And so that is an important step. The second thing that we've solved is we can connect the entire world with spatial audio and 6DoF all in real time with literally 1,000 times less compute. It's one of the greatest inventions of software that I have been a part of that I believe will affect the world. So whether you're building third-party services or you need to connect to a large number of people, you need to be able to seamlessly connect to anyone, anywhere, anytime versus being limited to a snow globe with a limited number of users. And the last piece that we've built is a open source real-time API solution that allows any piece of software built by any company to connect to a location-based area on someone's server. And so that way I can easily connect to the browser, go to a location, and connect to Walmart's AI that helps me navigate, and I don't have to install anything. And that is all running off of a third-party server while it's all happening. And so these are the necessary 3 pieces along with other things that will help actually build the basis of the next open ecosystem that will power the open metaverse. And so I want to show you a quick video, if you don't mind. Can you play the video, Tom? So this is actually real video from our global prototype demo. We're a browser in a browser. This is actually flying in space. All these planets are 1-to-1 full scale, and we're going to be working with NASA. But more importantly, you're about to see Earth at 1-to-1 scale. So that's the sun, and that's Earth, and it's massive, and it's rotating, and you're going to see a whole bunch of, wait in a second, you're going to see pins. Those are sample locations that we've designed in WebXR, and you're connecting to assets that reside on a different server. And you'll see as you fly, this is actually an avatar flying down to that space, and you'll see once I get near a location, I will start actually downloading those assets and stream them in real time, along with connecting to thousands of people that are roaming that space. But the purpose is to show you, this is LA Cigarette that built their own location where they have meetings in real time.
Different from
anywhere.
Roblox.
So you can literally
Let's
walk
answer that question
and fly
together,
to
right?
any location or teleport. It's a fully persistent map. This is the ability to control light in someone's house. So you'll be able to get dimmer switching. This is actually controlling assets in the world. That's all running off of a third-party software. And that's proven by us doing Google searches as well to show you that we're actually connecting to a third party. And this is streaming real-time video from a streaming service. And it's connecting everyone to that in real time. I'm about to show you the AR demo in about a second. You'll see the ability where we have one of our employees actually inside of an actual bar, and give it about 5-10 seconds and you'll see it. And they're actually in a bar using the pass-through of an, actually this is the OSM data that we're going to be bringing into the map to outfit all of planet Earth. I'm sorry, I just skipped a little bit, and we have different little pictures of cool things that are happening on the moon and Mars. But this AR demo is coming up right about, sorry about that. There we go. So he is using the pass-through of an Oculus 3, and he is literally connecting to third-party services that exist at that location. And he's connecting them without
This is Celia.
installations
I was
whatsoever.
young
So he has a movie there
and a
he
dick,
can change the
but that's no
lights.
reason to
But
destroy
we
the
are about
world.
to join in VR
Why does she do this?
inside that real location.
We
And
already
haven't
tried that
controlled
one.
either. And so we go to the same location. So it's all spatial audio.
Just got different words.
Yeah.
And that's us showing up in the real
So
world.
you just
that's
kind of
me and
wave,
my partner,
wave.
Dee.
You know, we're talking.
And
So are
you
we
can see us
recording
with
yet?
Full 6-stop, full
Are we
spatial
rec-
audio instantly.
Okay.
And guess
But are-
what?
Wait,
We can
David,
see
one
the
second.
third-party
So I
services
want to know:
that he was
are we
interacting
actually
with,
going to
and
go
all three of
over
us
there?
installed
Oh, yeah,
absolutely
can you get me a
nothing.
drink?
We
That'd be
just
great. That'd
connected
be
to the
awesome to
browser
see this.
Hey,
and
come.
understand
Sparky?
that we are at the
Yeah,
same
hey,
location,
come
connecting to the same
Wait,
over
wait,
here.
just
software,
Sonia, you got something on your
all
sheet
in
right
real
here.
time.
Right
It is
here.
one of the
On
most
your
powerful
cheek.
software
right here.
inventions. In fact, we were just on a podcast with Evan Helda with Amazon, and he said it's the most ambitious project in all of XR because the technologies we're bringing to the table will help unite all companies, all vendors, all product designers, and people that want to build open tools, just like you can build WordPress for the open web or Canva or Squarespace. And so this creates a truly interoperable from the ground up ecosystem that all companies and individuals can participate and not be beholden on any one single company. And we're right now going to be building out a native browser because right now this is a prototype browser in a browser so that we're not under the visual constraints of WebXR. And once we build a native browser, then everyone will be able to build their own spatial fabric. Well, actually, you'll be able to build your own spatial fabrics within a couple of weeks to test all these technologies out and use them in proof of concepts. And once the native browser is built, you will be able to actually build your own locations and completely navigate an open ecosystem that we believe will unite the entire XR industry. And so we have, I would love to invite you, one last thing, is I'd love to invite you. We do have an open house on Thursday. Actually, it's open 24/7, but we have the entire Augmented Enterprise networking on Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific time that you could just go to rp1.com, click enter, and you'll instantly connect with hundreds of people that will be talking about the event and learn a little bit more about the open browser. And you obviously can connect to me on LinkedIn or reach out anytime on email. I'm always here to answer any questions or take you on personal technology tours as we're always looking for partnerships and people that want to drive the open ecosystem. And thanks again for letting me be here. Happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Wow, that's super exciting, Sean. I think when I was speaking to Sean a few minutes ago, I was trying to understand the idea of the open web, because I think all of us talk a lot about that, of not having this be owned by some proprietary, private walled gardens. So that really helps me, and I'm sure others will have some questions. I guess one question I have is, how did you go about mapping the solar system at a 1-to-1 scale? Because
Yeah,
and there's that the whole, just a really quick thing is, I don't know how many people had sort of lots of campaigns for doing, is it digital splats? Is that what they're called?
Gaussian splat.
Yes, yeah, Gaussian splats. So how did that all unfold? And I know we could probably talk for hours, but maybe just in a short encapsulated version.
It'd be my pleasure. So there's lots of map systems, right? You can go to Google and go to Google Earth and go to any location on the planet, but that doesn't allow us to interact at those locations. And if you look at gamified maps, it's very, very difficult to scale beyond a certain size. And so we actually have a patent. We actually figured out how to scale a universal map system that spans our solar system. In fact, we have an unlimited map system even outside of our solar system that's fully connected. So literally, you can fly from Earth to any location or teleport to any location, and you will instantly connect to everyone and everywhere. It's not sharded, which means it's fully connected to a persistent map, and we have a patent on it. As far as outfitting the entire area, we started to work with OpenStreetMap data, which is a non-for-profit company that has invited millions of people to contribute different things around the world as far as mapping out streets and locations. We are going to bring some of that data into the map system, but really the job of the map system is to be a layer under the visual fidelity. The goal is, if you own your house, you will be able to scan your own house run those scans on your own servers, and so you have privacy, and you can make it public or private or password protected, just like you do a website. And if let's say you give me a password, I will be able to instantly join you in your home via VR, and you'll see me in your AR glasses. But all of the assets will be owned by each of those individuals or companies. Same thing with Walmart or Chick-fil-A or Boeing or Exxon. They will own their own spaces, control the digital twins and the visualizations of that. Now, who provides that is open service. Those are for companies and different studios to provide these services to connect them to a massive open ecosystem that now can connect all of their employees in real time based on location. And so those assets will all reside based on the companies and people that own that space. We're hopefully going to build an open ecosystem where the visuals outside of those buildings, just so it's nice looking, will be through like different open companies, or RP1 will continue to provide the visual maps just as a standard. And then as you get near locations, those assets will be controlled by the individuals that own that space. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, it does. It does. Thank you. And when you are thinking about digital presence, because digital presence has so many implications to it, and I think we're all just still adapting to what that means. What does that mean for you? And what does it mean when you consider not just the digital presence, but being in that world that you're describing? Because part of this is incredibly exciting. There's another part, though, that, and coming from the former security world, I think a lot about, how are we going to secure, what are besides keeping it private, can you give us a vision of what you consider to be that digital presence, and, what limitations might it have?
Well, I mean, the digital presence could be as simple as a grandparent wanting to, see their kids, even though they can't fly around the world to where their family lives, right? And so the ability is, what is the next closest thing to an in real life experience? And that's kind of what XR experiences or presence allows you. It allows you to join someone in their homes, eventually to have as close to an in real life as if I'm actually there. So the future is going to be that I can go in VR and literally what you see on the screen right now, I will show up in your AR glasses and you'll feel that I'm actually present with you in real time, interacting and seeing what's going on. That is like the holy grail of as far as eventually what XR devices are going to bring. And that works in the business world. It works for education and training and everything imaginable. Think about it, literally on the click of a button, I can join someone at the same XYZ coordinate space, including what you guys are doing right there. I see a whole bunch of people in row 1 and row 2. Imagine I literally could put my VR headset on, go to that exact XYZ coordinate space in Chicago and sit right next to you. And you'll be able to look with your AR glasses and like, oh, Sean's here. And I was able to join even though I don't live in Chicago. Right now, we have to use a lot of other layers because that ease of use doesn't exist because there's really not an XR browser that brings these technologies together. And that's really why we're building what we're building. And so we're not trying to build all the components. Eventually, lots of companies and individuals will understand the importance of the path that we're going down and hopefully join us in this journey to build out the components. But from the negative presence, I believe there have to be different moderator tools and things that help navigate, including blockchain. I think identity can be controlled by blockchain without giving out information about you. There's ways to still have a digital footprint where if all of a sudden you're attached to a whole bunch of people that are doing nefarious things along the thing, you can disconnect and not be a part of those groups. And so that there's lots of ways, but again, that's not for one company to build. I mean, if you look at Roblox, which is one of the biggest XR companies in the world and they're public, they can't even navigate all the bad things that happen on their platform. So what's the chances of any other platform being able to do that? That's the importance of what we're building, because now instead of you waiting on Roblox to solve this as a company, you have the world that could start building tools to solve this. People can actually build companies around moderation, control of your identity, age requirements. All these things is not for one company to build. It's for options to be there, whether you're a parent or that you're trying to securitize your workforce or your employees or your students in an educational format. And so we're providing the first standards of an ecosystem where everyone can build the components that solve any problem that you can imagine. And we build it together versus waiting on Apple or Meta to create a very closed ecosystem that limits our participation. And so that's kind of the importance of where we're heading down, hopefully.
Right, great. Thank you, Sean. I really appreciate that. Alrighty, I'm going to turn it back to you, Matt, for the next speaker. Thank you so much, Sean.
Thank you, Sean. All right. Up next, we have John Strong. John draws on the rigor of engineering, the creativity of music, and the power of technology to shape the sound of the built environment. His collaborations with designers, artists, and researchers merge acoustics and architecture to create profound experiences in venues around the world.
Thanks. Thanks, Matt. Boy, AI really makes me sound cool, doesn't it? Just kidding, mostly. As Matt just mentioned, I'm John Strong. I've spent the last, closer to here? Yeah, got it. I've spent the last 15 years or so as an acoustics designer for buildings and generally performance venues and immersive spaces as a focus. My background is in music, engineering, and in acoustics. I've got degrees in all three of those. And I am the coordinator of R&D activities at my company, Threshold. And that's primarily aimed at acoustic analysis and design. And I'm fairly accustomed to being public, although not necessarily the most well-spoken at all times, about my passions as a musical performer throughout most of my adult life, and also as a contributor to professional societies talking about this work. Next slide, please. And that work for the vast majority of my professional life has been with a company called Threshold Acoustics and AV. We're an acoustics and audio-video design studio based in Chicago, although we have senior level staff all throughout the country. And our work is generally in what we say shaping the sound of the built environment. So that could mean anything from making a concert hall sound optimal for an orchestra to play in, all the way down to making an office a reasonable, comfortable place to work for 8 hours in a day, and anything in between. And we focus on areas for spaces for collaboration and interpersonal connection. That's really our passion and our bread and butter. And in doing these things, we're collaborating with architects primarily and other designers of the built space, and also with owners and users of those spaces. Although, as we've started to foray into the VR world, we're interested in finding new ways to leverage that knowledge. So, next slide, please. So probably the closest intersection between what we do and these immersive technologies is what we call auralizations. And an auralization is a predictive aural rendering of what a built space is going to sound like. So we primarily use it as a design tool. We build a virtual model of a built space, either one that's existing or one that is being designed, and we calculate the anticipated acoustic response of that space based on the physical aspects of the space, its size, its shape, the materials that are in it. And when we complete that, then we play it back. We present it in an immersive studio that's part of our office. There's a model of it on the lower right side of the 3D model of it on the lower right side of the slide. It's a 24-channel, roughly spherical ambisonic loudspeaker array, and we use that to present to architects and owners and clients and people that make decisions about their projects. And realism is really, really important for that, because typically these folks will be making decisions about their projects that are worth hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars, and so it's really important to get the nuance right and to turn it into an experience that is meaningful. And it's really valuable as a design tool because it's much easier to talk about a shared experience of what something sounds like than me trying to describe what it's going to sound like. That just falls short the vast majority of the time. And so we've spent a ton of time and resources over the last decade plus trying to maximize the realism of this sort of simulation. And we have discovered that to make it more and more realistic, it costs more and more time and resources of all sorts. And I'll touch on some of that as we get into the later slides. And despite all that investment of time and resources, it's still relatively limited. We're still essentially only able to present this level of realism for a listener in a fixed location with a fixed relationship to a sound source in a virtual space. You know, there are obviously technologies that exist to make that relationship dynamic, but for the level of realism that we really require for our uses of it, that's our limitation at present. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is actually a video. It's a very, very short video, but it's an example of how we calculate the responses of these spaces. So this is actually a vastly simplified version of the kind of calculation that gets done to simulate these spaces. It's simplified, much lower in resolution to make it easier to follow visually. But effectively what's happening is thousands of rays or sound particles are getting thrown around this virtual space, and the program tracks each one's interaction with every surface that it interacts with and how that influences the final experience at the listener's location. And so this multiplied many times over is what's necessary to create this level of realism that we really require to do this effectively. That's great, thank you. Next slide. In addition to that, the way that sound sources radiate sound plays a huge role in realism as well. You know, people when they talk, instruments when they play, all these potential sound sources don't just radiate exactly the same sound off in every direction equally. You kind of know this innately if you listen to someone talking. They sound different when you're listening to them from directly in front versus if you're listening from behind. You just kind of know there's going to be a difference in the way that sounds and in how loud it's going to be. And you're looking. Minutes. Okay, all right. So suffice it to say that that we want to make sure in these models that we're sending the correct portions of the sound to the correct areas of the model. So next slide. The way that we accomplish this is that we actually make our own recordings of different sound sources, and we put an instrumentalist or a speaker into an anechoic chamber, and we set up an array of microphones around them so that we record the sound that's coming off the front of them and the sound that's coming off the back of them and over top and left and right, so that when we actually put that into these virtual spaces, the right part of the sound gets sent in the right direction. And if you don't do this, we spent the early part of our work on this not doing that, and it really doesn't sound realistic. This is a huge part of realism, so we've invested a lot of time, next slide, and energy and resources into making these recordings. So you see here a quick sample of some of the recording sessions that we've done in different anechoic and hemi-anechoic chambers, and we have quite a large library at this point, and all of these get used as part of these presentations. Next slide, please. So how does this relate to VR and XR? Well, kind of the most obvious one that we see is that, you know, innate to the platform, there's this access to location and orientation for a listener, and that seems like a really opportune way for us to incorporate directionality and dynamic relationships between sources and receivers without a whole bunch of extra motion tracking hardware. So that seems like a really great opportunity. We know that there's been a lot of explorations into spatial audio as part of these platforms, and we expect they're going to continue to develop and increase in realism, so we of course are going to keep track of all that. However, again, at the moment at least, for the level of realism that we again need for the way that we use it, the computational costs and ultimately latency is one of the huge issues with it, is really a challenge because the platforms are effectively running mobile hardware a lot of the times at this point. So it's a real challenge for our uses. Next slide, please.
Gonna ask you to wrap at this point.
Okay. Well, here's my one example of of XR work, but we can maybe get into it in some of the questions.
Sounds good. Well, actually, we will talk about that. So, why don't we, as our first question, talk about your first example of using this for a virtual reality project?
Yeah, sure. So we did a collaboration with the Royal Shakespeare Company in the UK, and we got brought into it through some friends at Agile Lens, which is a VR development company that we've done some prior work with, and also with a company Preview that makes digital twins of performance spaces, as well as some academic groups. And the project was to prototype a virtual rehearsal room where you can put actors in a virtual representation of the RSC's theater. They could interact with a virtually rendered set with virtually rendered production lighting and sound, basically enabling them to do aspects of teching a performance without actually having to be in the space. So that's a huge potential gain in efficiency for production, for theatrical productions.
Excellent. So we're running up on the clocks, but I'm going to ask the one question. So obviously when you hear the term, when folks in XR generally talk about spatial audio, it usually refers to the fact of, okay, well, if I'm in a virtual space and I'm close to you, I'm loud. If I'm far away from you, I'm quiet. It really doesn't talk too much about the directionality of audio or some of the more advanced stuff that you're looking at.
Right.
But one of the use cases that we've seen for folks who are doing virtual reality training, for example, is things like public speaking training, where, okay, I'm standing at a microphone, I see an audience. Do you see, I'll say, actual spatial audio enhancing those types of environments, you know, kind of getting beyond, I guess, the using XR as another step in the design process to the point of actually being able to train people, possibly up to the point of musicians or speakers, or where do you see that going?
Yeah, I think it's definitely possible. I mean, that was an aspect of the Royal Shakespeare project. It was really important for them to get the room acoustic right so that the performers would be able to experience what they needed to do to project into the room before actually getting into the room. So that could clearly, be applied to public speaking, putting people in different spaces to give them experience in different scenarios, or for musicians. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's feasible.
How would, say, amplified systems, like we're talking into microphones right now into a space, how does that play into that? Is that something that you guys also design into the systems, like what a PA system would sound like in those spaces?
Yeah, absolutely. We do that. I talk more about the unamplified part because that's where my most expertise is. But yes, that's absolutely part of it too. We've done simulations of audio systems in major performing arts centers before it actually gets installed, so that they can come in and basically proof the concept. So yeah, any audio system, any loudspeaker that can be characterized, its directionality can be characterized, can be put into a system like that.
Do you guys maintain a library of those too, or no?
There's actually a relatively open library of loudspeaker directionality that's out there.
Excellent. Well, we'll have you come up for the actual audience Q&A at the end, but thank you very much, John.
Yeah, of course. Thanks.
And with that, I will hand it back off to Caroline to introduce our final speaker for the evening, Natasha.
Terrific. Thanks so much, Matt. I am so interested, that whole idea of audio engineering and architecture. I would just think that's amazing. Okay, so we're so excited tonight. Let me just find my correct spot here. Sorry, I lost my place a little bit. Okay, Natasha. So, and Natasha, how do I pronounce your last name? I apologize. Avalanche? Oh, you're muted. Sorry. I lost your audio there. Hold on.
Let's see.
There we go. You're there. And then just push your...
Can you hear me now?
Yes, and you've got the megaphone on, it sounds like, so that's wonderful.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you. Okay, sorry for that.
I have my megaphone on.
That's great. That's great. Whoops, we just lost your video there, so that's okay. I just want to pronounce your last name, and I should have just gone and rolled with it. I apologize, but how do you pronounce your last name?
Sorry, I have a delay, so I didn't catch that.
That's okay. I was just, that's okay. I'm just going to go ahead and introduce you, and we could talk about that later. I'm really excited to have Natalie Avalanche with us tonight, and she is a global XR manager at TNA Solutions, and as an enterprise digital reality ecosystem architect. And I'm sure she'll talk about what that really means. Natasha designs immersive platforms that blend XR, AI, and digital twins to transform how enterprises connect people, technology, and processes worldwide. I love all those things together and can't wait to hear about what you're doing. Thank you so much for joining us, Natasha, and take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Caroline, and also to Tom and Matt for organising this event. It's great to participate here and actually to learn about this platform, to connect with other people interested in or passionate about XR. And thank you to XR Women, Caroline, because actually that's how I got connected in here. So yeah,
Great. Awesome.
really, they've been amazing networks, but on my own in terms of this XR technology and being passionate about that. So it's really nice and important to have people you can share your passion with. Okay.
So, Natasha, I
Design
might.
and manufacture packaging and processing equipment for the food industry. So we have engineering facilities globally.
I think that might have been just dropping the video there, hoping that Natasha can have a little bit better reception here. Sorry, folks. And
I think we actually lost her. She doesn't seem to be in the room anymore.
Okay.
It looked like
Okay.
she was having an internet issue. When you see that type of reaction, so I'm gonna give her a couple seconds to see if she comes back in. There
That
she
sounds good.
is.
That's good. That sounds good. Yeah, and while we're waiting here, I looked a little bit more about what TNA is doing, and so I think that's super exciting because we're really talking about the manufacturing of foods and packaging solutions and intersecting that with XR. So I hope that we'll be able to get her back so that she can tell us a little bit more about that, because it's a huge industry, and she's hailing from. Is she? I
was gonna ask, is she in Australia? Okay.
She is. Okay.
I was gonna say.
See, we hear the.
I know the
accent.
company's based in Australia, and with her accent, I was kind of wondering. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh man, is she calling in
Yeah.
from Australia? Because I don't
Yeah.
even know what time it is there right now.
Although that can be deceiving too, right? Because sometimes they're not coming from Australia. They're coming from
That's
other
true.
parts of the world that just sound like it. So.
I still have to check. I
Yeah.
think our furthest, well, as I say, while we're waiting for Natasha, hopefully she'll come back in. If not, we'll call everyone back up and we'll just jump to the Q&A. Actually, I'll probably just play her video. But
That's a great idea, Matt. Can we do that?
I'm going to give it one more second to see if she pops back in. I will say, though, the farthest speaker that we've ever had at this event series live was New Zealand. And that was the games. That was a games event that we did when we were at 8-Bit Studios early on. But okay, so I will play her video now, and hopefully she comes back in by the end of it. We'll see where this goes. Oh, it says Natasha is talking. Is she in the room? I don't see that she's here. That might just be Frame doing its thing. Okay, so here's her video.
Welcome to TNA Solutions, Jack. I'm TNAI, your friendly guide.
Wow, this place is impressive.
Yes, it's a completely immersive digital twin of your factory for you to explore. Why don't you try the controls out to get started?
Okay.
Whoa, watch where you're pointing that laser.
Sorry.
Are you ready? Your team is waiting.
Afternoon, Jack. Thanks for joining us.
Hey guys, you're on here early. Santos, how's Acapulco?
Hola, it's a beautiful sunny morning.
Okay, Jack, let's get started.
Sure thing.
You can walk the production line and check for any areas of improvement.
This area doesn't look like it's wide enough for vehicle access.
I think you're right. Let me measure to check a forklift fits through.
Yeah, good idea.
No, it's not quite wide enough.
You're right. I'll take a picture.
Perfect. I'll add it to the issue tracker.
Okay, Emily has something she needs to show you right away. Please join her. Oh, and mind your head.
Bonjour, Emily. Everything okay?
Bonjour, Jacques. Could you take a look at this platform, please? I'm a bit concerned.
Jack, try using the transparency tool.
Yeah, sure thing.
I think the problem is centered around the upstand for the operator screen.
Ah, yeah, I see it. Perhaps we should create a cutout in the platform?
Super. Let me make a note of that.
Thanks. There's some great collaboration, and it's all from the comfort of my office.
Yes, and do make sure you get your steps in. Real, not virtual.
Yeah, ha.
Julia has now joined, so you can discuss the changes.
Hi, Julia.
Hey, this digital model is incredible. How is it shaping up?
Yeah, we've just been looking at these latest updates. So let me walk you through the planned changes, and then we'll confirm and validate with our engineering team.
Sounds good.
All right, starting over here. Firstly,
That was pretty cool, I thought. And I don't know, it reminded me a little bit about working in Engage just because of the way you interact with putting your arm up and then it puts a screen up in front of you and then you can tap and do things with it. But that was pretty, to me, impressive about just the feeling of the collaboration, because oftentimes in collaborative spaces it can feel very clunky, even though the avatars, you know, are just half a body, which you see sometimes. What did you think, Matt?
I will say it looks like a couple of different platforms that I've seen in the past. So it's neat technology. Yeah. I liked the. I'll say I really liked how they were showing some examples of what you would actually do in those spaces, where you're just sort of reviewing the actual layout of a space, saying, "Oh wait, this might be a problem." You're doing a measurement. You're taking a screenshot. All the types of stuff that you would do in a collaborative design scenario.
Exactly.
Let's see, Natasha. Can we hear you again?
No, but I'm wondering, oh, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead, Natasha.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. You can just be in the virtual space. This is fine.
Okay, yes, I don't know. My computer the space just kind of phased out. So
That's okay. That's all right. This is why it's great, because we can hear you. How about everybody else on that side? Can you guys hear Natasha okay?
Yes.
All right, great. And you've got your megaphone on, Natasha?
Okay, all right.
Yep. And we just watched your video, just to be clear. We watched the video, and if you would like to just I guess we're probably limited on time, but please go ahead and just kind of ad hoc a little bit more about your company, because you didn't really get the chance to tell us much.
Right. So, yes, basically, so my role in the company is to apply XR and these technologies to different areas of the business, so both internally and customer facing. So the video you just saw was our brand for Immersive, which is TNA IntelliAssist. So the video you watched it relates to one pillar of IntelliAssist where we actually manage our projects. So we create digital twins of our whole the factory that we're building for our customers, well, all the equipment in it. So we combine, we go out and do point cloud and scan the factory, and then individual designers all around the world who are building pieces of equipment within TNA or designing them are actually now designing directly into this live environment, which the customer also has access to, which means they're basically, we all collaborate and exist in this same hub that is a digital version of what we're going to deliver to the customer. So it's just amazing. Like, literally, it is a persistent world. It's not just looking at a CAD drawing on a screen. So it's really transformed the way we can communicate internally, where we have a globally distributed team all working on little pieces. When it all comes together into this world, you suddenly get the picture of the whole project, not just your little piece. So you can see it holistically. But then for our customers who are, you know, investing in these new facilities, they can go in, they have access to the world from their end, whether it be through VR or through their laptops, and they can bring in other stakeholders, maybe their, you know, the leadership team or people financing the project. Maybe they're bringing in operators to do a walk around and see if they can see any ergonomic problems. So everyone can contribute to the design process as we go, and the team is just much more connected. They're not just individuals out in the world doing their own thing. Everyone comes together in this one virtual space. So I might, you know, be going into a world to see if the latest models in there, you know, the latest designs are actually in the model, and the point cloud's looking good, and, you know, I'm just sort of doing that check like that. But when I pop into the world, the customers might already be in there doing a walk around of their own things. So it's just like we are all here in this environment. That's how it is. So it's really like a phase change in how we think about designing and collaborating and existing as a holistic team with the customer, directly with the designers and all the stakeholders in the project on both sides. So it's really empowered us as an internal team, but also our customers to be much more connected to the process and involved in the process. So that's been amazing. Yeah, it's really like been an amazing tool.
Yep, and I am I'm going to go ahead and turn this back over to Matt, just because I know that we are going to have some questions. I have some questions, and I'd like to give people the opportunity to ask those. And thank you so much, Natasha. And even though you were, you know, not on the screen, you were able to see that video, and it's yeah, I think it's really great to see that you're actually living and doing the collaborative stuff right now in that environment. So that's awesome. Thank you so much, Natasha. Matt, let me turn it over to you to open up the Q&A.
All right. So with that, I'm going to have our presenters please come back up. If you could grab one of these microphones. The other one will have Patrick will be running the microphone for audience. I just volunteered him for that, or voluntold him, I guess. But with, right. So with that, the way that this is going to work, because we have audience in 3 places. We have audience in the live physical space. We might have audience in the virtual space. I can't really see in there. We also have YouTube. This is streaming to Augmented World Expo's YouTube Live. So the way that this works, Tom is over there monitoring the YouTube Live. He'll be texting me if there's any questions. Patrick will be able to handle running the microphone to anyone in this physical space, and Caroline will let us know if anyone in the virtual space has a question. So I'm going to go with who has the first question. Right there already? All right. Oh, no?
Sorry, Adi Rose's hand was just saying hi.
Apur was just saying hello.
I had a question.
Go for it.
No
Go
one else
ahead.
here has a question. Yeah, I was curious on yours. You said that you can simulate the audio from very specific. That's just a computation limitation, and like obviously with VR, people move around, and so you'd want to get the sound from pretty much any location in a space. So how well would that scale what you do?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's kind of the main issue at hand with getting this into that kind of VR kind of environment. The issue is really one of computation. When you've got a sound source and a listener that are moving relative to each other, that relationship is obviously to the room is constantly changing as well. And so if you think about the room acts sort of like a filter, if you will, like an audio filter in a way. But the properties of that filter change based on every single possible source receiver orientation possible within that space. So you've got a filter that's constantly changing, and you constantly have to recalculate with an extreme level of precision kind of any time any motion happens whatsoever. So that's really the main issue at hand. There are plugins and algorithms that people have explored that are, they call them ray tracing algorithms, and GPUs do this with lighting and things like that as well. But they still haven't gotten, in our experience, they still haven't gotten to the point where it's good enough for the level of realism that we aim for. I wonder if maybe the supercomputer might be able to do that.
That was going to be my follow-up question. Is Victor, can you help him out?
Yeah, we've talked about it. We've certainly talked about offloading that calculation to Amazon Web Services or some other kind of third party to just increase the calculation capability. But there's a lot that raises a whole host of other issues, of course. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah.
Okay, we have a question.
Sean, did you have a question? You raised your hand. Sorry, Matt. I saw Sean raise his hand. You're muted right now. I know we're having the audience question.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
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 We looked at, so we created an audio solution that looks at it a little bit differently. We do what's called server-side mixing, and we attach that to a map system. So when you have like VPS, you're able to actually walk around the real world and know where someone is standing at, whether in the real world or virtually, and be able to give that update of that audio track in real time many times per second. And so we're thinking things a little bit in a unique way, whereas people build out their own spaces, the browser's job, or I should say a spatial fabric, is to provide core services like spatial audio and 6DoF. But it enables people to walk around the real world and instantly get both spatial audio from different perspectives based on where they're standing. And all of that is being updated because if you're all connected to a browser, we know your VPS location. We know exactly where you're standing. It can provide left channel, right channel, all that type of stuff, along with adding third-party services that can have control of the audio experience anywhere you're standing and whatnot. So it's, I think there's a lot of different ways to skin, I guess, the cat or something, but something we learned to not only do that, but use probably about 1,000 times less compute with spatial audio. So we can run about 100,000 audio tracks with no limitation in a shard using about 2 computers. And so it's something that we're able to give back to the community as far as a service.
Got it. All right, back to you, Matt.
Actually, I had a question for Sean. When I don't know if I missed when you were talking, but I don't know if I missed when we were talking, but I wanted to know more about the web browser that you're making. Does it work with all the web pages that currently exist? Do they become 3D or something, or do they have to be changed by the developers for it to work with your service?
Yeah, I think web browsers are great at presenting 2D information. That's why you have HTML and CSS and standards that are really all around 2D. There are layers that are being put on top of the current web stack, but we believe in actually a new native browser needs to be built. Current web browsers are not proximity-based, meaning they don't know where you're standing in the real world and can present you information built by different servers or different companies or ownership. And it also doesn't allow for many pieces of third-party services. The future of the internet is going to be a collection of hundreds of millions of real-time software, and you need the ability for those real-time software to be injected in any scene. and iframes and DOM are strictly prohibit from that happening. And so we have a prototype using WebXR, which can be a little confusing. So we are a browser in a browser right now using a WebXR stack, but the goal is in the next year to build a native browser.
Awesome. Yeah, I'd love to chat more with you. I've sent you a LinkedIn Connect, maybe, but yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
I accept it.
Sorry, he asked a question which brought up another question that I want to ask, which I don't think you actually answered, which is the metaverse browser going to be backward compatible so that somebody who wants to view just regular web pages will be able to view it?
Yeah, I think those will be services built by different companies that you can inject a service that would present a 2D website in a 3D space. And those will be built by hopefully many different companies that find value in that and provide that service to different people in locations. So when you build let's say if you're Walmart and you want to present a 2D website in your own space, you would have different services, no different than Frame has services for my video to show up or present things. But it's not, the goal is not to really solve for 2D. It's really to solve the future of like AR glasses, but I do believe that there will be many services that will be able to inject website data or visualization of a flat screen 2D content or whatnot.
So I guess I want to add to that because I've been hearing you say things like that, let the others build things from the community, build these services and various things. And I think that it makes a lot of sense. It's definitely based on adoption, just like in blockchain, right? It was all based on how many people can we get to be engaged to build this and be able to explore those business models and build on top of that infrastructure, which I think, I think that makes a lot of sense.
I agree with you. And I think when people ask questions like, will you, it's really, then you may not understand the real construct of what RP1 is trying to create. You don't build inside of RP1, nor do the feature sets need to exist within RP1. It is really analogous to how plugins work for websites or all these companies that exist in building websites and managing them for you. It's really the exact same parallel, but for 3D content that is spatially aware. And so we're building the ecosystem in which not only real-time services can show up, but they can coexist so that I can easily move around the real world and connect to different pieces of software built by different people based on where I'm standing. And so if I walk near Walmart or now I walk into a hotel or an airport, I can instantly connect to that software just like I would a website and instantly be able to interact based on what they want me to do in that space. And it gives the freedom for people to own what that looks like and how to manage it.
So, quick question for Natasha. With TNA Solutions, because obviously I know we had some connectivity issues and you came in and gave a real quick talk, but I did want to give you a chance. Can you talk a little bit more just about what TNA Solutions does in general in addition to, I guess, the immersive technology side of it, or just a little bit more explanation about how the immersive fits into the total packages that your company offers?
Yes, so can you hear me?
If you have your megaphone on, yes, we can hear you just a little faint. So if you could speak up just a little bit, thanks.
Okay, yes, yeah. So TNA basically design and manufacture end-to-end production lines for the food industry. So everything from processing, ovens, and packaging machines and all of that equipment. So that's our foundational business, but we decided to utilize immersive technology to enhance the services, the way that we deliver our service to our customers. In this case, the first pillar of this IntelliAssist is, for live projects. So that the foundational products are capital equipment for the food industry that we design and manufacture ourselves, but utilizing a whole overlay of digital tech, immersive spatial design, and connecting it into all the different pillars of the business, and then giving the customer this new way to interact with us and connect through those digital worlds that are customized to them. And then, there's other pillars where we use it for our internal engineering teams to design and marketing. So we, a couple of years back in Germany, we did a big utilized a whole virtual factory as part of a exhibition stand, and for that we won the Metaverse Award for that. So we've done, marketing, product design, project development, digital twins, all different facets of spatial computing we have sort of applied to the business and to our customers.
Thank you for that. So this one I'm going to throw to Victor first, because this is one of our. We have a question that came in from YouTube from the live from our friend Francis, who likes to watch all of our lives and ask questions. But you started to sort of answer on this a little bit, which is why I wanted to go to you first. Happy to have everyone else chime in on this afterwards. So in person, when people are collaborating, they collaborate with their vision, with their audio, hearing, language, the background noise, and frankly, interaction to collaborate. And as people are starting to move some of that collaboration into an immersive environment, obviously there's going to be a difference in the flow of thought, the flow of decision making, the flow of a conversation. And I guess what other sort of tools and, how different do we expect the experience to be, and how can we possibly improve it and make use of the fact that there's all this, if you're in a virtual environment, technology is surrounding you and listening at all times. So how can the immersive experience be different than, saying, in-person collaboration?
Yeah, that's a good question. So when you collaborate with people, it's not just the voice that you communicate, but also there are a lot of cues. Maybe you want to point to something. Your facial expressions are gonna also, you're also communicate through your facial expressions. So new headsets like the Apple Vision Pro, they're actually really good at communicating some of those cues and have solved some of those problems. So in the case of the AI scientific assistant, you can go in and we're using Apple Vision Pro's, I don't know how they call it, but you can basically call in and join like a collaboration session, and in that case you can see their hands, they can point on things. So that's kind of like solved. Now additionally, because you are in this digital world, you can record the interactions, you can record the cues, and then you can start using AI to maybe predict intent, maybe summarize the conversation, maybe even like we've seen Apple, they have a live translation now. So maybe you have somebody in a different part of the world that they speak a different language and maybe they don't speak English. Now you can overcome those problems. So technology can basically enhance the collaboration and communication if it's being used in the right way.
I'll add on to that. Victor, you just said something that is really important in the way that I work collaboratively in my field, and that's in design. Reading body language and reading nonverbal cues is extremely important. And having gone from before COVID to after COVID, where we were constantly doing design in a room around a table, to everything's via Zoom or via Teams and everyone's just a face on a screen, you lose a huge amount of that, and it makes it, we all know that. Everyone's had that same experience. And I think that one potential real value add for this is, the ability to add more nonverbal cues back into collaboration and into interaction, because it's really obviously important.
I can add to that question if you as well, too, Matt. I think right now, just because we have a federated metaverse where we have all these different systems and different things, you have kind of a clunky experience that doesn't make it as seamless as what we have in real life. And I think I agree with the gentleman on the stage that it's going to eventually be seamless, where if you're wearing a Vision Pro, the ability to see, obviously, facial expressions, not just in real life, but also through an avatar, you can get as close to the things that make you feel like you have actually in-person presence. And I think there has to be an open ecosystem that allows different tool sets to make that possible, so that a lot of companies are building for it versus there being just one solution. And so I think there's going to be lots of different like plug-in equivalents that allow you to have different experiences and make it as seamless as possible. I truly see people wearing AR glasses and me and being in VR and showing up literally right next to someone and they will see my facial expressions, my embodiment as far as what I look like in the real world, and be able to have that seamless transition, so that it really connects people the way the web intends to. And so I think that'll be a neat experience.
All right, so we have time for one more question.
Yeah, this one's for Sean. I had a question. You were talking a lot about the ability for like, say, Walmart or a hotel to, show spatialized information and other parties to plug in information at a location. What about me as the participant bringing my own, like attaching web-based capabilities to myself, like bringing my own avatar, for instance, or bringing my own widget software into the space that I created that I always carry with me. Have you guys, is that part of the architecture at all, or would that be completely outside of RP1?
Yeah, I love the question. And so I think that there's a couple of levels. So the first level is that obviously the location itself, Walmart or Hilton Hotels or whatever it is, they have the ability to connect to you based on where you're standing near their environment that they own. Then you have the ability of what are called overlays or different services that you can provide. So if you wanted to become Yelp, you would have access to the entire map, and then you'd be able to put a layer of software that I can turn on and off, and I can now instantly see restaurants or things that are around me. If I wanted to create, let's say, art all over the world, I could create my own service, put a whole bunch of artwork on location specific, and people, if they know I exist and know my service exists, and whether they pay for it or it's free, they can turn that on and off, and I will now see your artistic rendering at different locations and whatnot. So there's also the ability to have your own digital pet, or the ability to have your own software based on your experience, right? So you're eventually going to have your own AI that will hopefully be a choice of many different AI solutions out there that help find or navigate other services. In fact, you may even have a digital pet where you actually have a digital dog that walks around with you that you can look down, and that software is running off of some digital pet company that's providing the service, and you'll be able to walk around the real world and you will see that, and then you can offer the ability your friends or people that you meet to be able to see the same type of services that you're connected to. And so it's really building a system that can grow at a level that is equal to kind of how the World Wide Web works with plugins and all these different things that exist throughout the web ecosystem. But the same thing will happen, I believe, in the metaverse. But what we're building is the ability for all these things to coexist. And then you as the user of the browser can pick and choose the things that you want to interact with, including if you're in Walmart and you don't want help from Walmart and don't want their AI to pop up and help you find the toilet paper in aisle 5, you should have the ability to turn that off, right? Or not connect to their software. But you do need a universal map system, no different than when you go to walmart.com, you still see what they're presenting, right? And you have a choice to leave that website. You'll have that same access as far as being a user of the browser as well.
So I guess I was talking more from the egocentric. So I guess in the pet example, I would subscribe to a pet service people would opt into whether or not they want to see other people's pets from that service. And I would bring my pet into the space, and people who said I want to be able to see it would see it.
Yeah, I think it'd be your choice and what your embodiment is as far as how you interact in spaces. If obviously your work is like, hey, there's no pets here, you'll probably have to turn that service off. So I'm assuming the ecosystem itself will police what is more appropriate or not appropriate in different scenes. But I do imagine people walking down Times Square with a pet, and if you're on the public map and you want to see random strangers and people that are both in VR and AR, you have that choice, or you may just want to see your friends or your family or connect with very specific people. But you as the user of the browser have that choice and that ability to do so, and all those layers will exist so that you can connect to whatever you want or connect to people and see their full embodiment or just specific things.
All right, so we are at the point where we're reaching closing remarks. So I'm going to talk for a few moments here and give everybody a chance to think about what they want their closing remarks to be, because it can really be whatever you want. This is your chance to say whatever you guys want. You're going to have about, I'll say, 30 seconds each for each of our speakers. I'm going to call you out in a random order, so think about what you want to say here. But ultimately, the way this is going to work is each of our panelists is going to give their closing remarks. Caroline will give her closing remarks. By the way, this is your time to think about what you're going to say. Caroline will give her closing remarks. I'll give some of my closing remarks. We'll do a little bit of housekeeping, and at that point, we'll get back to some more in-person networking. We have some snacks. We have some demonstrations in the back of the room. And I think at this point, I have stalled for about as long as I possibly can, and it's time for the closing remarks, starting with... I'm going to start with John.
Thanks. I think that coming at this from sort of a different angle than maybe the average person at this event. I'm really excited about the opportunities. Just in hearing about Sean and Natasha and Victor, the way that you use this technology, I can see a million different ways that could inform where we take our next steps. So I'm thrilled to have heard all of these uses, and looking forward to where it goes next for everybody.
Excellent. We'll go with Natasha.
She may have a connectivity issue. I see something above her name. How about, can you hear us, Natasha, here in the space? You might have to pass for another person.
All right, so we'll go to, in that case, we're going to go to Sean.
I think the XR space is extremely bright. I think it comes with a lot of baggage for people that, I think we're too early for the technology, and it's taken a long time, but we have, 6 of the largest tech companies in the world racing to build commercially viable AR glasses. And I think we all, as a community, have to decide, do we want a closed or an open ecosystem? Do we want the ability to build whatever we want and build any component, or do we want to be reliant on one specific company to provide the tools and services to play within that ecosystem? And if you want to be a part of an open ecosystem, we would love for you to join and support not only our project, but the open ecosystem that we're trying to build. And obviously, again, thank you for having us join your panel today.
All right, Natasha, do we have you? No?
I don't think so.
All right, Victor, go ahead.
Yeah, so with my science background, I'm really excited about the convergence of VR, AR, and AI, and how those tools are going to be used together. I think AI is going to allow us to do new things that we weren't allowed to do in the past with VR headsets, and hopefully that's going to, our ultimate goal is accelerating science, at least by a factor of 10. So that's hopefully going to bring us new discoveries, medicine, and just unlock new things. So that's what I'm excited about.
All right, go ahead, Caroline.
I think, I guess we can talk about being excited, or, that the industry is early and there are all these other things. I just want to say I love the combination of tonight, because I think having the national laboratory and the work that you're doing, Victor, and then John, this idea of audio engineering as it relates to architecture, because we're already seeing those industries thrive in the XR space, and then Natasha, who is already working in that collaborative space, that to me is very interesting, because we haven't had the experience of people being able to be in a space and do all of the things like the measuring, the taking pictures, all in one space, in a commercial setting, beyond a lot of certain microcosms of industries. So what I'm excited about is this, all of the industries that have been here tonight, and the intersections of where they hit in immersive technology. So I think that was pretty cool. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I will say once again, thanks to all of our speakers, our presenters, and Caroline. I'll let you guys, if you want, you can get off the stage at this point. You don't have to keep sitting up here. So thank you very much. If I can get a round of applause for our presenters, that'd be great. And for Caroline for helping out, and Tom, always running all the tech issues over there in the corner.
Yeah.
So, one of the things I thought was actually really cool about this panel, we always try to curate a panel that has a very mixed group of individuals on it in terms of expertise. This one is definitely one of our more mixed groups. We have, literally an actual research scientist here. We have somebody who's using this for industry. We have, I will say, that sort of semi-tangential use case of someone who's definitely industry that is touching XR but hasn't really used XR with the Unlock Audio, and then Sean, who's literally building, XR tech solutions. So it's a great mix of this panel to really talk about what is a very wide topic. How is this stuff actually being used at work? Because work is all over work does not have one single definition. And one of the things that has been a very hot topic, as I've had a lot of conversations over the last months with a couple of government leaders, is the fact that with what's coming with AI in particular, work is going to be changing, and work is going to be changing rapidly. I mean, there's all sorts of, a little bit of doomsday about how many people are going to be replaced by AI. I don't think that's the right answer, the right question to be asking. I think it's more, what are people going to be having to do to keep up with the changes that AI will be bringing about, because they're coming. It's going to happen. And so, it's fun to see such a wide array of what is defined as work all in one meeting and talking about how that can be done with XR. There's obviously lots of news going on around the space. We don't really care to talk about government shutdowns. We don't want to talk about any of the other political issues that are happening. Meta did obviously release their Ray-Ban displays. I think that was a few weeks ago. That was big news. We are seeing some of the other companies sort of racing to release their glasses now in response before Meta grabs all the market share. So there is a lot happening in this space. And I guess the last thing I'll point out is, as we're talking about this topic at work, or topic for work, collaborative workspaces with XR, realizing the opportunity that presents to all the companies that do want to start using this technology and the benefits that the technology can provide to them. So I will end it there. In terms of housekeeping, I told you the slide would be coming back. It'll also be up towards the end of the program. This is our donation link. That's one of the things I wanted to mention just about this specific event. I wanted to call this out because I forgot to do it at the beginning of the program. And basically, this is something, we've run this program for a long time on the first Wednesday of the month. Realizing that doing that oftentimes conflicts with some holidays, like we have to worry about New Year's every year, so we started moving our January event. We have to worry about July 4th every year, so we have to move our July event. We only do social events in January and July. With that, I'm hoping that all of our Jewish friends are having a good fast today, because we had a couple of our folks who regularly come to this event and actually support us who told us last week that, oh, by the way, they can't make it because it's Yom Kippur today. And so hopefully those folks will be enjoying the video tomorrow, since they shouldn't be watching it today. They're obviously not participating in the event today as well. But with that said, one of the things that we do like to talk about, again, we support this event. This event is essentially, it's a 501c3. It is run through donations. We want to be increasing our scale again very significantly. Part of that involves the ability to schedule things in advance, run our rehearsals in advance, have some more, I'll say, some more stable technology solutions with how we're running the AV event. It is very complicated what we're doing here, and also, frankly, marketing, because we don't do any paid marketing for this event. It's all done, basically shared through word of mouth in the newsletter. So that's enough for me leaving that link up. Our upcoming events in November, we're going to be talking about education, not new tech. We switched the topic on this. But yeah, so November topic is going to be education. And then December, we'll be talking again about training, and frankly, training in terms of return on investment is how we're going to be framing it. These are all of our socials. For those of you who cannot donate to support us, we would love it if you follow our socials and share the messaging out, because that is honestly almost more important at this point. We need a lot of folks to be understanding what they can do with this technology and taking advantage of it. And with that, I think I will call it a night and say thank you all for being here, and we look forward to some networking at the close of this presentation, and hopefully we'll see you all next month. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Sean. Thanks, Natasha. It was great meeting you guys.
Thank you, Caroline. We are going to mute your room in about 10 seconds, and you guys can continue talking.
Sounds
Thanks
good.
again, Natasha and Sean. Sean, we got to schedule a follow-up conversation for a couple of reasons, so I'll do that next week. Thank you very much, guys and ladies.